All right. Well, people can come as they like. Well, I'm just gonna start and yeah. So thank you for coming. Lovely to see everyone. Yes, what to say? There's just immediacy. All there is this. All there is what is. This is enough. Just what is. This is just what is enough. This is enoughness without needing to go anywhere, without needing to get anything. This is just enough. So this is not a message. This is not a message. What is expressed here is not a message for anybody. This is there's a sort of kind of confusion that seems to be going around that there's a message in these kind of conversations, that there's something to get. I mean, a wonderful thing about this, which is so different to, most other things, is that there is no message. That there is, I mean, that's incredible that there's not a message that you have to figure out and understand and spend a whole lot of, time, figuring out. And of course, the me you state wants to turn this into a message. It wants to turn this into a teaching. It wants to turn even something which expresses that there is no message into something which is suggesting that there is something that it needs to learn and get. But there really isn't anything there. There's nothing to find at all. There's nothing to get. There's no possibility that anybody here in this apparent, thing, this meeting, will get anything. There's nobody that can get anything. So this is just an expression. This is just a statement. This is just, you know, I don't know, paint drying. This is just, a dog barking. This is whatever it is. It's not something that is going to provide any sort of information or anywhere to go. This is completely directionless. This doesn't have any direction. It doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't have any purpose. This is just what is. Just that that's the uh uh the the quality that is unfathomable. So, and that's the freedom as well. The freedom, the freedom is not needing to work it out, not needing to search for anything anymore. My God, you know, that seems to be the thing that goes on with the me state, is just a constant process of seeking something, feeling that there isn't that there isn't enough, that there isn't enoughness. There is something that I need to find, and that seems to just go on and on and on and on until it doesn't. It just doesn't. It just burns out, dissolves, falls apart, and no one does that. There's nothing that you can do that does that. It doesn't matter what the methodology is that you have, that the me has, because the me always has a methodology. It can be, many, many different things, from meditation to, to to all kinds of different methods of trying to get somewhere. And they all fail. They all fail. This is a celebration of the failure of that. All methods fail. All methods me has of finding something fail. So then all there is just what is. All there is left is what is. There's just this aliveness for no one. Just losing yourself in everything. All there is losing yourself in everything. It's a total loss of self in everything. This is total loss. So we can talk about that and related related things. And yeah, this is just completely open. If you have something to say or you want to ask a question or something like that, then I'm very happy to talk about this. But remember, this is never going to be able to give an answer to the question. All this does ultimately is just undermine the fact that there's somebody asking that question. There's nobody asking the question. There's nobody answering either. Okay, somebody's asking me something. The sense of being an individual is a loop heading nowhere timelessly. That's Ben. Um, yeah, I mean, it is just it is just what it is. It's a contraction, a quality of contraction of energy, one could say. Apparent contraction. It seems to be contracting. I mean, it's trying to go somewhere, but of course, there's nowhere to go. So it does seem like a loop. Yeah, sure. And so Diana says, this me energy can't do anything and get anywhere. No, it's a kind of it, it is just what it is. It is just a quality of contraction. Contraction just does that. It just contracts. That's all, or it's just a single quality. So it has no it doesn't have some sort of kind of intelligence, that contractive quality. It doesn't have, it doesn't know, like it hasn't got have a clear plan of action or something like that. It's just the quality of contraction. It just goes like that, and it holds on, you know. That's what seems to happen. So it can't do anything other than that. That's what it does until it doesn't. It's not there's not a sort of like there is a thing called me which has got a kind of intelligence and it's got a plan of action and all of the rest of it. There's no play. There might be a belief in that. There might be a belief, the me state has a belief in that it really is real and that it really can do something about its situation. But all that, everything that I've just described, is part of the contraction of the me state. It's just the voice of contraction. The voice of contraction is the quality that believes that it can do something about its seeming situation. There's nothing to do. This is me is like a virus. What are you going to do about it? It's a fever. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with anybody. It's nobody's fault as well. Hi, Lauren. Do you want to unmute?
Hi,
Yeah.
David.
Hi, hi.
Hi. Um, I missed your introduction.
It wasn't important.
Well, I was sorry to miss it. Um, I just have like a question, I guess, because
Yeah.
um, I've heard some people speaking about this. In other words, they've gone to Tony meetings,
Yeah.
they seem to be in the same um, framework. And then they talk about Kundalini energy as,
Well,
you know,
that's not quite the same framework, but anyway, go on.
yeah, that's sort of the thing. And without any, just being transparent. It causes anger for me. Not that I am venting that on anyone or anything, but because I kind of like tried to convince myself that, there was nothing to seek and there's nothing, to get, because I did have some pretty, out there experiences of what seemed like, we call glimpses or other energetic changes that took place that called into question my prior, you know, understanding of reality. And so then, like, coming to these meetings and thinking, okay, there's nothing to get and none of that meant anything, and then hearing other people talking about it like it was a process, I'm just confused.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you're talking about and everything that you're describing really is about ideas of becoming. They're about ideas of becoming and processes where you do this and this, and then you get somewhere, you know, or you do various different processes, and somehow that sort of drains the me state somehow, so that you then are on a progress to actually destroying the me state
Yeah.
or something of that nature. But all of this is in time. So it's all a sort of progressive steps that one is making in time. And ultimately the thing is that time doesn't exist. So there is no time. There's no time. There's just the appearance of time, you know. You could say what seems to be time, but it's not. There's nothing happening.
Hmm.
So what that means really, from what you're talking about, is that there's no possibility of there being anywhere to get. So all of these suggestions about there being Kundalini energy that you have to have running through your body, and that therefore means that you've got somewhere and that you're at a particular state. All of these are
Hmm.
sort of a hierarchy, and me likes to have hierarchy because it's getting somewhere. It's progressive. It's an ideology of progression. But
Hmm.
there's just immediacy. All
Yeah.
there is immediacy. So that's that. There's nothing to talk about
Yeah.
in that sense. Do you know what I mean? I mean that's pretty amazing. All of that stuff about trying to get somewhere and trying to become something and trying to look more free, or become, supposedly be a freer individual, you know,
Yeah.
progressively or whatever, if
Hmm.
you try hard enough, all of that completely falls away because it's completely irrelevant.
Right.
All of that is irrelevant. There's just immediacy.
So when you talk about the me state, it's like in immediacy, there's inside and outside of the me state.
Well, no, in immediacy, there's no inside or no outside.
No.
There's nothing. There's nothing. There's no. There, inside and outside is relative to there being something inside, really, which is
Hmm.
me. I'm inside. Everybody
Hmm.
else is outside. This is a subject. That's an object. One, two, dualism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is that's constantly the dream, in a way, that's going on. Immediacy is the end of all of that. Immediacy is just what is.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is why there's no message. I mean, what are we going to talk about? What
Yeah.
we go what is there to be taught here? It's
That
completely
that's
ridiculous. It's
That's real.
and
Yeah.
also the other thing is that how can this be higher or more on a higher level than that? Because there's nothing here and there's nothing there.
Right.
So it's completely flat. Yeah, it's totally flat. This is unconditional neutrality, which you can call unconditional love if you want, but I call it unconditional neutrality just because it's an easier word to, well, it's just love has been, um, turned into lots of different
Decorated. Yeah.
yes, well, yeah, more than decorated. I would say
Mm.
barbarized, but
Ah,
but yeah, I mean, it's I
yeah.
mean, yeah, you could say it's been decorated, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a kind of very kitsch kind of decoration. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, but there's as long as there's a sense that there's someone doing something, then that's where it's not flat. Because it's like you're doing something and I'm doing something, and what you're doing is successful and what I'm doing is not.
Well, yeah, we'll compare, yeah, sort of the comparisons of like whose life is better, and
Hmm.
like, whether I'm progressing in a particular in a particular path down life, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, that's all always to do with the story. Whose story is better? Is my story better? Is your story better? Let's compare stories. It's what people do. People like to compare stories and then figure out which story is better, and then they kind of try to they have a whole load of angst and concern about whose story is better, and who's the winner, who's the loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's it like to regard that without the sense of there being anyone inside of those people that are
Well,
doing
there's
that?
no, all stories are rendered flat. All
Yeah.
stories are drained of energy. They're just stories. No matter what they are, they can be stories of a lot, whatever, stories of colonialization, stories of walking down to the shops, stories of whatever it is, any story, and all stories are
Yeah.
rendered neutral.
There's there's such a like energetic, like a faint remembrance of that, of,
Yeah, oh yeah, that
you know,
totally. Yeah. No, this is
and
no,
like,
this is completely no, known is not the right word. This is sensed. This is to
yeah.
what is being expressed is completely sensed by
Mhm.
everybody. This is there's not this not it's absolutely obvious what is being expressed.
And it was so much more fun in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
that it was just like a discovery of like, well,
yeah,
what's this story and what's that story, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like my little 10-month-old will like look at something and then literally just like throw it on the floor, like it
yeah.
doesn't matter, it could be,
No,
it's just
yeah.
it's good for a minute and then it's like on to the next.
Yes, straw dogs. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just,
Yeah, yeah,
and yet when it's the thing that's being considered, it's like, so there's so much, I'm being poetic, but like rapture of like, wow, like this thing, it's a pass for work and it can do stuff, and then it's like gone.
yeah. It's
Right.
yeah, it's irrelevant.
And yeah.
It's just there's a really interest something really interesting, and it's gone, and that's
Yeah.
completely normal. That's a completely normal
Uh-huh.
thing. A little 3-year-olds or whatever just suddenly
Mhm.
very into something and then immediately completely forgotten about it, and that's completely normal. What
Yeah.
seems to go on for the adults with the strong sort of me going on there
Mhm.
is a sense of attempting to continue of
Exactly.
continuity, to keep that going, to keep that story going on and on and on.
Yeah.
That's a fever state. That's a fever.
And but it seems impossible to function without. I mean, that's not true because constantly there are these moments where something just is available when it's needed and then it's no longer relevant. But it doesn't seem like I can responsibly like live that way. I know
Oh no, you
that's,
can't responsibly live that way. This is the end of responsibility. Yeah, this is the end of responsibility. Responsibility is a figment of the imagination. There is no such thing as responsibility. And responsibility, there's no necessity for responsibility either. I mean, what you're I mean, just the quality of there being you and your daughter. There's no responsibility that you need to have for her. There's just a response. It just naturally happens
yeah,
without you needing to think about it. Just response of caring for her or doing something or whatever seems to happen. There doesn't need to be a thing called responsibility that's in there doing that. It's just instinctive.
100%. And I was living in the countryside and it was so simple. And now it's like back to work and living in the city, have a new garage door, and I need to put away the papers so I can get the warranty. Like it's like it's
All
more
those things just seem to happen. There's that nobody will do any of that. And some of those things that there will be a complete uh, dislike for and complete disinterest in.
mhm,
And so they
yeah.
might not happen as easily as something that you might be interested in. And
I
so
thought you were gonna
papers might pile
mhm.
up, and that
Uh,
might seem to happen. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. It doesn't make
yeah.
there's no good and bad about any of that.
Hmm.
It's just what seems to happen. It's just, that body just naturally goes towards what is pleasurable and away from what is painful. That's just what it does. There's nobody doing any of that. It's just what it does.
Hmm.
And that's what it will continually do without there needing to be anything that you need to do about any of it. Where there isn't anyone to do anything about any of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, really nice to talk to you today.
You too, Lauren. Yeah, you too. Jade. Yeah, hi Jade. Hi.
Hello, David.
Hi Jade.
Thank you for the meeting.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yes, I would like to say, listening to you, um, I I feel like you are talking about what I cannot understand.
No, 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 you
And
can't understand. Mhm.
yeah, and also I also don't know how to stop, not to try and understand.
No, no, of course not. No, the me just does that. It's just that mechanism of contracting, and the contraction is the attempt to understand. The energy of contraction is
Mm,
the quality of that is trying to understand. Nobody's
yeah,
doing any of that. It's just the nature of contraction
yeah.
is is the expression of attempting to understand something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to understand keeps happening.
Yeah.
Listening to you.
Just happening. Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah,
just goes on. It goes on. It goes on. It goes on. Tries to understand. And then perhaps it doesn't for no reason or purpose. It just falls away. That whole idea that there is a necessity to understand something can just fall
mm,
away.
yeah, yeah. Somehow, um, it's certain um that there is trying to understand happening.
Say that again. It's certain that
Like what knows trying to understand is happening.
Who knows? Trying to understand is happening. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's just me in another form. You know, it's like me
it
has
must
got
be me.
it's got the me state has got two heads, one that's trying to understand and the other one that's looking at the thing that's trying to understand, you know. So it's got several. It can have more than two heads, you know. But it is a kind of you know, it's just me looking at me trying to understand.
Okay,
It's all
so
analysis.
okay, so the feeling like knowing something, trying to understand is just a thought.
It's just me observing, me as an observer.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
So that's just
so
it's just another form of the me
yeah.
state, the contraction of me trying to control and what's going on,
Hmm,
trying to make sure that it's aware, right? It's in the awareness of what's happening.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
So uh this seeing of the trying to understand is is the me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Me as an observer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the end of the observer. You know, what immediacy doesn't need an observer. There's no requirement for something to, you know, there's no who, you know, what would observe what?
Hmm,
Nothing.
hmm.
You know, nothing can't observe nothing, you know, it's just nothing. So
Yeah.
there's no observation.
Okay. So seeing the scream, is that also the observer?
Well,
Seeing the it
seeing seems to happen, but it doesn't require an observer. Seeing can happen and there doesn't need to be an observer, it's just seeing.
mm. So
This immediacy is too uh for want of a better word, immediacy is too fast for there to
yeah.
be an observer. There's no possibility of there being observer. There's no gap.
Mm, mm, mm. Yes. Impossible to understand.
Impossible, yeah, it is impossible to understand. There's no, it is impossible to understand because there isn't anything to understand. I mean, that's the most impossible thing, isn't it? You know, because there's nothing to grasp onto. Like, if there's, you know, what's being expressed here is that and suggested is that there is nothing to understand. So
Mm,
that is in this world, seeming world where, you know, everybody is into trying to understand everything. That's an extremely uh, different thing to express.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
because this
So I
just can't be understood.
yeah, I even when I feel okay, uh it's okay, not able to understand. Um
Well, yeah, I mean,
uh,
it's more than okay that you don't understand. Yeah, there's no problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
no problem. It's
there's
not a
no
problem.
requirement. There's no requirement for you to understand.
Especially what you're talking about is not possible.
Yeah.
And totally uh I yeah, I'm drawn to your speech and talk. And uh I I cannot say I agree because I don't understand
Yeah. I mean,
something
I
you're
don't
talking.
understand either, I have to say.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah,
that makes, you know, that we're in the
mm,
same boat, you know, with that.
yeah,
There's there because if there's nothing to understand, you know,
yeah,
then
yeah,
you know, in a certain sense, the whole idea of trying to understand is completely and utterly superfluous. It has no,
yeah,
it's just it just is
yeah.
irrelevant. It's
Mm.
irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somehow it's clear because there is preference to your talk than other people talking about something I can understand.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember that each speaker has got a different way of expressing, right? And to begin with, when it's a newer speaker, people get very interested in what they have to say for a short period of time. And then they realize that it's exactly the same as what has been expressed before. And so there might be a period of time where where you kind of think, oh, this is a really interesting thing that he's saying. But then actually, then it will, if you go and, listen to Tony or whatever, it is actually the same expression. It's just that perhaps the words that I'm using are slightly different, but that's it. You know, there will be, that other people will just say this in a different way, and it just is just how it is. I mean, there are also a lot of people that are talking about something completely different. There's a lot of people which are talking about, non-duality as an object that you can get, and that then it's a completely different thing altogether. But if it's coming from this sort of expression, then it's very similar, but the words will be a little bit different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is for example, there is a complete loss of interest in spirit
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything talking about even manifestation,
Oh
like
God. Well,
anything
yeah.
that is tangible,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there is loss of interest in any of those
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
of,
Well, it's
like
just complete
concepts.
bullshit. Yeah. Well, I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, why? Yeah. I mean, there's certain things with this message, certain things just, completely fall away in obviousness with how could there possibly be a process of manifestation or any of these kind of things become just like obviously, um, you know, irrelevant, immediately irrelevant. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So at this point, it's just like uh this feeling of more um light, light, like
Lightness. Yeah.
yeah, uh, not too not too drawn into memory of the past. Like
Yeah.
I can disregard thought about the past and the future uh, a lot easier now.
Mm. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
after listening to this talk for a
Hmm.
while,
Yeah.
that is like transitioning.
Hmm. Well, I mean, what I certainly what I can what is clear here is that that it is much lighter. There's
Mm,
certainly a sort of than what previously in this
mm,
body seemed to be.
yeah.
It is much lighter. There was a sort of heaviness and a sort of
Mm,
a quality of heaviness, which I think is the story. The story is a very
yeah.
heavy thing to sort of
Yeah.
carry
Yeah.
around. Yeah, it's pretty weighty, and so
Yeah.
the story, you know, there seems to be a sort of unraveling,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
there that seems to be going on of that sort of contraction around story. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, if it's okay, I just quickly mention something that yesterday I had a row with my mom, and like uh, because is a close link person like my mom, and it was an argument yesterday.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, this memory, like at this point I'm talking to you, it's very clear. It's just a memory.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Memory seems to have memory can seem to happen. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you mean?
and 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 I can feel this guilt attached to it.
Hmm. Guilt.
In a sense, yeah, because it's a mother, and I argued with her.
Yeah, that's all
And
of that is a story. All of that's what
yeah,
you're describing now is a story which
yeah,
is associated with, you being a daughter, there being a mother, there being a way
yeah,
to express something to a mother and a way not to. There being
yeah,
some sort of there being something uh, that should be done in a particular way or
mm,
whatever, because otherwise there's a consequence for doing all of that is a story. There can just
mm,
be memory, a memory of an
yeah,
argument, memory. That's memory, just memory being just memory, energy in that form.
mm,
And there can also be a story of contraction around that memory, which is also just
mm,
what is. It's just energy in that form, which is energy
mm,
in that form of a story
yeah,
about a me who is in life and has done something
mm,
wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that is guilt.
that is guilt.
And
Yeah.
I, yeah, I sit with the heavy, intense feeling
Hmm.
arising
Yeah.
whenever this memory comes up. There this intense energy.
Yeah.
I feel it, and I feel very open to just feel it. It's not a problem at all. But I'm worried that if I'm using some sort of technique,
Well, it's I
like
mean,
non-dual technique to just deal with what happened.
well, if you are using a technique, let's say that you are using a technique, then that's just what's happening. What's happening is there is an energy there, that a
Mm,
contraction of me, and that me is
mm,
using a technique in order to manage the tension that it feels.
mm.
What's wrong
Yeah,
with that? It's
nothing
fine.
wrong,
Yeah.
but there is understanding of what's happening. Like this heavy energy and this memory comes up. It's all just happening.
Yes,
But
but
these are all just my understanding.
I think that what's going on somehow there is a sense that it's better to do one thing than another. It's better to do this than to do this. It's
Yeah,
better
there's a
to
choice
just
there.
allow, it's better your imagination and your fantasy about what it is when there is no me. It has somehow it means that you're not going to get upset with your mother when this kind of thing goes on. That does not necessarily, it is not necessarily like that. So what I'm trying to say is that there's not a right way and a wrong way. There is not
No.
there is not something that you can do better and somehow get closer to what is. There's just what is. And if what is just that contraction process, it seems to seeming to go on, there being that story about that guilt or whatever, then that's just what's happening. That's just what's happening. There's nothing anyone can do about any of that. There's nothing you can do anything about any of that. That's just what's happening.
Yeah, it's what's happening is not based on thoughts. Like
No,
it's not created by thought.
no. Thought is just energy in that form. Thought is just thought, energy,
Yeah.
if you like. So no,
And
the
yeah.
thought isn't the creator of anything. No, it's just energy in the form of thoughts. There is no creation. Creation would be in time again, you know,
Okay.
beginning, middle, end. Yeah. All there is immediacy. There's just this.
I don't understand.
No. Of course not. Of course not. Why would you understand? Immediacy is completely empty of understanding. So there's, of course you wouldn't understand. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Johan.
Hi, David.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. You were talking about responsibility earlier,
Yeah,
uh, saying that it's the end of responsibility, getting the
yeah.
message in a way. But in a way, it's also the beginning of responsibility in the sense of being able to respond to anything.
Well, no, I mean, first of all,
Not
there
as
is
a person, not as a me,
yeah.
but
Well, there
no,
is no message, and there's nobody who can get it. That's the first thing. Second
right.
thing is that is the second thing is that the me there isn't the responsibility in the way that we were describing it here is actually that there is somebody who has it's the responsibility is something that is important. It is
Hmm.
something that is considered to be very important that figure this out, that that there's a responsibility, that there's an important sense that there's something important for me to do, and I have to do things right. All of
That's
that,
me who done it.
all
It's
of
me who
that
done
falls
it.
away.
I'm guilty.
Yeah,
That one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's me that is at the center of that, that could potentially be, reprimanded if it's not responsible. All of that is just the dream, sort of just part of the dream. So it's the end of that. And then all that's left is just instinctive response. And there is no responsibility in that. There is just instinctive response.
There's a new ability to respond freely.
Well, it's not even an ability to respond. It's just response. An ability to respond is too slow. It's just immediate.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, yeah.
I mean, who's looking at what that ability is?
Oh,
It infers a kind of observer looking at it,
yeah.
kind of like an experiment. This isn't it. This is the end of the observer. So
Yeah.
there's just what is, yeah.
But don't you find that the dropping away of the person and less thinking does lead to no, it's not more immediate, but there's nothing in between anymore.
Right.
Right. In that way, that's the way I meant it, in fact. So yeah. And about the contraction, the contraction is still there, right? It's just not taken seriously anymore, right?
No, the contraction is not there. No. It's not
No?
there's no contract. Well, if you're talking about the me state just falls away.
Mm. Yeah, but not more contraction than being attacked by a shark in an IMAX theater, something like that.
I mean, that's I don't know what
No?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Oh,
Exactly.
an IMAX theater would be a 3D movie uh,
Yeah, I
where you get
understand
the
that.
impression that you're actually in the ocean and a shark comes right at you.
Right.
There might be some contraction, but not seriously.
Oh,
That's
I
what I.
see. I see what you're saying. That there could be a response to fear or to something like that. I mean, that's response. That's
Yeah.
just the body responding. The me state is more abstract than that.
Yeah.
It's
You see
just
them acting. You see in a way.
the see. I see, you see. Sorry, can you say that again?
Um, Maybe it's hard to express, but in a way, you see the me acting. You see him or her being afraid in a
Well,
way.
what sees the me acting?
There's no you, of course, yes.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's the point, is that when there's an observer of the thing that is doing something, then this is the me state. This is the me state observing me doing something. That's still, a sense of separateness. I mean, you can just describe it as that simply.
Mhm.
It's a sense of separateness.
Yeah,
This is the end of separateness. Immediacy is the end of a sense of separateness. That, in a certain sense, it's just the falling away of that, simply because there's no seeking anymore. there's still a kind of seeking going on when there's an observer. It's a subtle kind of seeking. You know, Tony used to describe it as kind of everything wrapped in cellophane, which is a brilliant way of describing it. So, yeah, but it's the observer quality.
Everything wrapped in cellophane. Can you explain?
Yeah. Well, it's just a little bit separate.
Ah, a little bit separate. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Andrew, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Sure, I can.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Uh,
I'm ringing from New Zealand, so calling from New
oh,
Zealand, so
wow.
it's a bit early.
Yeah, blimey.
Not
Yeah,
sure if my brain is completely
oh, that's
functioning as it should. So bear with me. I've got a bit of a strange question to ask you. Jim did a meeting in Toronto 7 years ago, which is actually
okay.
when I met him in England too.
Yeah.
And he said in that video in Toronto that the sense of I am, if
Mm.
it's in place, could actually continue out of the body. I thought it was quite an interesting thing for him to say. And someone carried on asking him about that because I think everyone found that quite surprising. The I am could exist without a body, and when I say exist, apparently exist, obviously. And then it led to the sort of inquiry of, well, therefore, if the body dies, possibly that sense of I amness could continue without a brain functioning or a body. It would suggest that, which would actually,
Yeah,
therefore, suggest the possibility of reincarnation. And Jim said,
yeah,
I don't know. There is a possibility. I was very surprised. Jim said there could be a possibility that a psychic energy, which is sort of the I am, I guess his way of putting it, could survive death. And I thought that was quite interesting, having heard that, reincarnation, samsara, karma, and souls are part of the dream. So I was
no,
wondering
they are definitely part of the dream, and I
exactly,
don't know, and I wouldn't
exactly.
like to speak on
Yeah.
what Jim was meant in that particular thing. I mean, having heard
No.
Jim for many years, I haven't
Yes.
heard Jim express that. Um,
No.
so I don't
Exactly.
know what he meant in that particular way. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, from this, it's absolutely clear that there is no possibility of reincarnation,
Yes.
something being separate, there being a
Yes.
separate I am or something like that. No, I mean it's just impossible. That all there is what is. There's just this.
Yes.
There isn't anything that is separate. I mean that's the
Right.
certain sense. Separation is the sort of foundation of dualism. So,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, I can't speak to that exactly. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I know it's a difficult one because we're talking like a sort of Chinese whispers almost, but I just
Yeah.
found it very curious because I couldn't relate to it either. I thought
No.
that's so contra. I mean, I met Tony a long
Yeah.
time ago, many
Yeah.
times, and listened to it for over 20 years. But I just thought that was a bit of a kind of anomaly for Jim to even. But it was interesting that he actually said he didn't know about whether something could, and he called it a psychic energy. That if he said, I don't know. And I suppose that's a very honest answer in a way. Maybe it can't be known if a psychic energy could survive death. I mean, you could say it can't, but I suppose, is it possible to say we don't know in a way?
Well, I mean, it is possible to say it is there is no knowing here. There's nothing
No,
known,
no, no.
but instinctively, I would say that is part of a story.
Yes, yes. I do have one other question about. Do you sense that when the I am first comes in, is it a sense of here-ness or location? And at the same time, does time then begin and the story of I'm here, there's over there, there's separation, there's object and subject, subject and object? Would you say is there a first
Yeah.
thing or is it all together?
all
Like,
together. It's
so they
all in
hear
the same.
location, they hear
Yeah,
the
it's not like
location,
a
time,
sequence.
space. Yeah.
No, it's not a
And it
sequence. It's
happens.
all at the same time, and that sense of contraction.
Yes.
In now, this is another story, of course. This, what
Yeah.
I'm just about to say, is another story, but it seems to
Okay.
be that around a young age, 18 months to 2 years or whatever, that seems to sort of come into the body, and
Yes.
very often I think that that's what those tantrums are about.
Yes.
Kids,
Yes.
they have tantrums, and I think
Absolutely.
that that's a lot because it's completely spontaneous. Sometimes it's just absolutely sudden that will just
Yes.
suddenly occur. And that
Yes.
doesn't happen with any other animal. It's just a very
Yeah.
sudden, thing with human beings. And my sense is that is an expression of um, the sense of contraction that is all of those things that you mentioned.
Yes. And would you go along with the possibility perhaps that there's a weaning even as the child grows older than 2 and it started to feel a
Yeah,
sense of separation, there's even more concrete, I don't know if that's a
yeah,
word. There's more solidity through
yeah,
school, religion, teaching,
yeah.
siblings, parents,
Oh yeah,
obviously. That's
yeah. A
all going to
lot.
make it more concrete.
Yeah, yeah. There's a sort of a collusion around
Yes, yes.
that of,
Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful.
that there really is a me, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's a real thing, and
yeah,
you've
yeah.
got a real life, and you've got to do your best with it, so
Absolutely.
you know
Yeah.
get on the right track early and all that
The,
shit.
the story isn't even, it's not even a story anymore. It's totally
No.
real, isn't
Yeah, what do you want to
it?
be when you grow up?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just on the possibly the last thing I want to ask is
Yeah,
the reversal of that could be a weaning. I've noticed several speakers like Andreas, who I spoke to at length about his seeming process still in the story of me was gradually fading out. So he didn't even notice when it ended. And a lot of people say
yeah,
there can be, I think Alexis said there's like a light bulb goes off, and then the me comes back, and then it's sort of half on. And gradually the dimness, it's like having a dimmer switch. The next day is a little bit less. In his case, I mean, it's different
yeah,
for everyone.
exactly. I mean,
What
that's
was
the
it like for you? What was it like for that body there?
well, I mean, the
The sort of
yeah,
end, was there a
it was.
process before the end of time?
Well, the
Apparently,
thing is exactly. I mean, it is just a recognition that all of what was before was
yeah,
just really a dream.
yes,
It was just really the end of a dream, the end of a sort of illusion that there was a before.
yes,
So that's the difficulty about talking about it, is that
yeah,
what the me will always kind of take that as being something that is a past, which it then can kind of go, oh, so this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Now, if I do the same thing,
yeah,
follow
yeah,
the same course of
yeah,
action, because that's what it wants to find out,
yeah,
how
yeah.
it sort of how it was, how that went on. Um,
But the
in order,
sense of me, you could say, couldn't you, that the sense of me, which is still in the story, does actually seemingly go through a process of dissolution slowly for some apparent bodies. I mean, you can,
and
and
for
then the
some,
process, if it
it just.
ends, yeah, and it could be immediate and very shockingly total. That's what
Or
I'm.
not even shockingly total. It can just there can be a seeming long period of time of looking and searching and searching and searching and searching, and then
Yes.
at a certain point the energy just sort of the plug just falling out of the socket, whatever. It's just
Oh,
something that just doesn't have any more. There's no more energy for it. There's no more energy for
yeah.
seeking, and that's
Yeah.
just the end of it. And
Yeah.
that seems to be what went on in this, you know. if you want to
Right.
describe it like that. But it is difficult to describe because it is just it is the end of the whole of the story of me is in time. So there's this
Yes.
whole idea that everything is in time, and that we have to
Yes.
even refer to what is described in this in non-duality as something that seems to occur in time, and all of that is absolutely ridiculous. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no there is no, you know, that's why it's very difficult to talk about what
Mm,
you're describing, which is this kind of sequential events of how
mm,
this seemed to fall away. Well, no way. You
mm,
can't. It's not that it's not that this can enter into me, into the world of me. It's that the world of me falls apart, and all that's left is this.
mm, mm. Rather than an awakening, it's like a falling into deep sleep. It's like it's a funny
Yeah,
term awakening because it's very misleading in a sense because no
yeah,
one wakes
yeah,
up.
yeah,
And there is
yeah.
it's in a sleeping. There's no
Yes.
such word, but
Well, yeah, in a way, yeah. I mean,
it's like deep sleep.
I'm sorry, but you know,
Yeah, yeah,
his expression is so beautiful that I do have to often describe those things. But Tony will say, you know, there's no enlightenment. All there is
yeah,
light.
yeah. All there is enlightenment.
All there is light.
All there is light. All there is
You know,
this.
I
All
love
there
that.
is immediacy, which I think
Yeah.
that's a beautiful.
Yes, it's the
I've
same thing. Yeah.
noticed people use it. It's lovely that you've, as it were, coined that term because it's a lovely word because you can't attach anything to it. It's just it's closer than close.
Right. Well,
It's not a
it's just
millimeter away and it's not a second
yes,
away.
you can't you could the thing about it is that you can't
Beautiful.
do anything with immediacy. You
Uh,
can't do
uh,
anything with it. That's
I
what
love
I like
it.
it.
It's
You know,
beautiful.
I mean, it's it, but that's what touched me
Yeah,
that
yeah.
word. So it wasn't something that the brain can engage with.
Yeah, yeah, I really, I totally get that in terms of resonance. It's a lovely word to use. Yeah, I can see why you've plumped for it because it's just it's beyond the mind.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
this is where it was just something that you know, it just came out as that was
yeah,
resonated with, you know, that's all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's lovely. Well, thank you, David, for doing this. It's lovely to talk with you.
Pleasure,
I'll
Landry.
I
Yeah.
think the sun's coming up soon, so
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
hopefully
No.
my brain will.
Well, thank you.
But,
Yeah, thanks for getting up so early. I appreciate. Yeah,
yeah,
nice to
10
see
to
you.
6, it was pitch black and frosty, and I have to walk quite a long way to get to where my computer is from the woods. And it's like,
Wow.
no, it's worth it. I want to talk to David today, and I've got this
Uh,
burning thing about what Jim said. So thank you for
uh,
responding to that.
of course. Yeah, pleasure. Yeah,
Thanks, David.
pleasure. Yeah, yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Hi, Jade.
Hello, David.
Hi.
Thank you. Um, when I don't pay attention to anything,
Yeah.
there is a some sort of quality which is really nice, calm, that sort of quality.
Mm-hmm.
When the attention is not attached to anything at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what seems to be happening.
Feels really nice.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So is that possible to just not pay attention, not attach attention to anything?
So that would be a method, you know, that you could the me could, you know, take hold of and kind of go, um I'm not, you know, it's sort of like the method of non-attachment, right? So in a way it's something that, you know, Buddhists have done that for quite a long time, you know, having a method of not attaching to anything, the me devising a method of not attaching to anything, right? So therefore, of course, it is another way that the me is trying to get in through the back door, right? You can't creep up on oneness. You can't creep up on what is.
Yeah, but
There's no way.
it feels nice. It feels nice and calm, like there's sort of quality to it. That
Yeah, again, there are people that stay almost permanently in meditative states. They have to, of course, control a huge, their entire life around them in order to make sure that nothing enters into that little bubble. But they can stay within a meditative state, and they kind of stay in that little bubble. Of course, something
I
will always burst that bubble at a certain point, which will cause complete havoc for a while. But there is it is something that the me seems to do, which is to try to create total control over over its circumstances in order to be in a unattached state. It's
yeah,
still a
but
method. It's still a method.
yeah, yeah, but like where there is like you if I pay attention to the thoughts, like
Hmm.
um it it's like it doesn't feel nice.
No, no. Well, it wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it's quite tiring. Yeah, it's quite tiring. So, I mean, there's a I don't know exactly what's going on there, but
Hmm.
what I can say is that well, all I can say is that yes, paying attention to everything is a method. Not paying attention to everything is another method. Maybe it's a softer method, a gentler method, but anything that is done in order to try to get somewhere is still a method. It's all a method, right?
Yeah,
Which will last for a short period of time of being nice, and then very often it turns into being not very nice very quickly.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is
It is this
this isn't holding anything.
mm,
This is not
mm,
holding anything. What this
yeah,
is not holding anything. This is the
mm,
absence of holding on to anything. This is the absence of requiring anything. There isn't anything that there isn't any method here. This is the end of method.
yeah, yeah. There is intense sensation, so quite intense sensation that often um create the need to kind of feel like it's prefer comfort. It's prefer like like you said, the body naturally prefers better
Yeah.
environment.
Hmm. Yeah. That's just happening without you being involved. Yeah, that just goes on.
Mm.
Yeah.
So is that like you just naturally prefer to feel nice than feeling like this thought keeps
Hmm. Yeah.
suggestion
Well,
uh
there can be a letting go of that feeling that you need to be aware of everything.
okay. Um but the the aware of things naturally by itself.
Well,
It
no, I mean awareness in this way of describing it is being separate from something, is observing something. The observer. This is what we were talking about
okay.
before. So
Okay.
the
So
observer
the
is awareness, really.
okay, the awareness is the me
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
context.
yeah.
Um yes, yes. So nothing can be done about it.
No,
Um just
nothing.
sitting on a chair,
Hmm.
um just sitting on a chair.
Yeah.
Totally nothing at all. That's naturally it.
Yes, all there is sitting on a chair.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Johan. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you talk about how, on a, for sake of the conversation, on a relative level, people of suffering is a big motivator for people to go to these kind of meetings? Because
Yeah.
for me personally, it's much more interest and wanting to find out, and the joy of finding out. That was always the big motivator.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a kind of concealed suffering, but it is. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's. I mean, or it's a. It's. I mean, I don't know where it's a sort of different version of the same thing. Seeking is seeking, no matter what the sort of, in a way, the kind of me kind of has this imagination that it sort of enjoys seeking. Some me's, I mean, they sort of have this idea that there's a sort of enjoyment in the process, but in a certain sense, there's an irritation or a sense of separateness which drives that whole movement of seeking, which essentially is a form of sufferance. So yes, that absolutely sufferance is the motivator of seeking for sure.
yeah. Okay. I could only explain that in the way that the excitement of finding something new out would be an escape from
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
in
sure.
that way. Ah,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's another it's different versions of the same thing. You know, the me is constantly trying to find something in a way, something new which will distract it from its tension for a while, or the sense of separateness for a while, and it will sort of go try to find something else, but very quickly it will return to feeling a little bit feeling uncomfortable because there's a sense of separateness.
but in this way, the separate self, if you will, in trying to escape and continuing itself, runs to its demise in a way.
Well, I mean, it's not it's inevitable. The end of me is absolutely inevitable. Yeah.
Sooner or later, of course. Yeah.
Well, it just seems to fall away.
Mm. I never felt it like suffering, but this does shed new light on something. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're using different words for different. It's just a different way of describing it. But if you think of the nature of the movement towards the
Or
seeking
away.
process is always sort of driven by something which is in a certain sense an irritant at the back of that.
Mm.
There's something which doesn't feel quite right, which drives that. And that's essentially what we're another way of describing a kind of sufferance, or but you may not consider it in those terms.
Well, if I used words to use my movement, it would be away from suffering rather than towards happiness, because that doesn't, for me, anyway. Well, I'll
Well, it
ponder
is. Yeah, it's an attempt. It's an attempt to find a solution, essentially.
that. Yeah. I can see how not as an actual thing as something you think or you
No, it's completely it's
consciously.
actually yeah, it's
Yeah.
just as I was saying, like that is simply the voice of contraction. Seeking is the voice of contraction. It's the quality of contract. It naturally comes in with contraction. The questions, the seeking, the all of that is literally the same energy as contraction. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the questions, the end of the questioner, you know.
All right. Just one more thing, David.
Yep.
In the relative world, what's your motivation, if you could speak of that, to hold these meetings?
Well, these meetings are a response, really. There's a response there, and there's an expression which just arrives. You know, all of these meetings and the formation of the you know the things around that are really just a response to there being an interest want into this being heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just a response, I would say. That's what it is, and a joy at that being at expressing that. It's very pleasurable to talk in this way. Yeah.
So it's rather a joy than sadness that makes you.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, it's not it's very natural and easy for this to be expressed. Yes. So it isn't it's really just a response response with pleasure. Yes.
You.
Sure. Michael is saying, so there's no one in the body. No, no, there's no one. There is no one. Jade, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to just describe this like not being able to understand this has a feeling very uncomfortable feeling
Yeah, well, it
and
would be this you can't understand this, and the me state doesn't like that. It doesn't like unknowableness. This is unknowableness. So unknowableness is going to naturally, you know, feel quite uncomfortable to me that wants to be in control of everything, that wants to know everything. That's what me does. It wants to know everything. This can't be known.
yeah
Just all there
yeah
is. Unknowable.
yeah I just described how it feels. The quality is not nice,
No. Well, it wouldn't be. No.
and this and it's understood. It's not about getting rid of this feeling of annoyance.
No, I mean there's nothing the me can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's and I think it's because of this feeling of uncomfortable feeling that's making me listening to your talk.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think it is about. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your belief is about why you come towards these kind of conversations. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
and there's a belief that if this is seen, then I don't have
Everything's
this
going to be okay.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just this uncomfortable feeling. It's just uncomfortable. It's not even like painful or anything.
No. It's just what it is. But and there's a belief there that all that's going to go away and it's going to feel nice.
Yeah. But there is also understood that that's not the point.
No. Well, it's not only not the point. It's this has got nothing to do with a nice experience for you. This is to do with the end of there being an experience. So this is to do with the end of there being anyone.
Yeah. And it's also fully understood that this uncomfortable feeling has its own life. It goes by itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's understood. Yes, what you're saying is that
it to be stopped.
What you're saying is that it's fully understood, but it's fully understood here, right? Yeah. So that's something else. Being understanding and a clarity about what we're talking about is not. It doesn't have anything to do with what is. This is the end of of clarity in a way. This has got nothing to do with clarity. This has nothing to do with anything that is to do with understanding something. This is the end of understanding. So that's why it feels uncomfortable, because of course this is at the edge of understanding.
Yeah. And it's not wrong.
No.
It's not wrong to have this feeling.
No.
And
All
it
right.
doesn't cause any problem.
Mm-hmm.
And there is complaining about this feeling.
Yeah, I've heard. I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. There is a complaint. I mean, I get that. Yeah. Unfortunately, there isn't anything here that can take your complaint, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a question, but it just feels like it needs to say what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's you have, and that's no, understood. Totally understood.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, David. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I got
I
you.
put a question in the chat. I don't know if you're able to answer it.
Oh, sorry about
No,
that.
it's okay. Yeah.
Like doing too many things at the
It's kind of a silly question, I guess.
Let me see.
But it's causing a lot of trouble.
Main chat. Okay, right. Lauren, is it possible that my new neighbors with whom I share a wall are preventing me from being able to sleep? The me state tension, or is this a made-up story? Well, I mean, that's it is possible that you have neighbors that annoy you. That's that. I mean, yeah. Is that what you're asking?
Very funny.
No, but I mean that's it. I mean, what all there is neighbors annoying you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what seems to be happening, and what seems to be happening there is a sense of annoyance.
I thought you would have me an answer.
You sorry, say that again. You thought I'd have more, you thought I'd have more of an answer to that. Is that what you supposed to say?
So how did energy overcome this?
You're breaking up, unfortunately. I can't quite hear you. Yeah, I think that your signal's breaking up, Lauren. Hi, Jade. Yeah.
Yeah, I just suddenly remember there was someone talking about this feels peace or this feels boredom. So these like whatever what is feels like peace or boredom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who that is, but
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just talk. Like, so I cannot feel like this boredom is what is. Do you suggest that I cannot feel that this boredom is this? Because like
oh, but
sitting
this
on a
is
chair.
let me just say this, that the boredom, when there's boredom, there is just boredom. There's just or should I say, when there's boredom, that generally what that indicates is that the me state is wanting something else. It's wanting something other than this. It's looking for something. It's seeking something. So that's why generally generally me's are very bored. They can get very bored. This is not enough for me. What is not enough. So it's always looking for something else.
Okay, so the feeling like boredom is not what is.
No, boredom is what is. It's what's apparently happening. It's what seems to be happening there is a sense of
Yeah,
boredom. Yeah.
yeah, like sitting on the chair, feeling bored,
Yeah. That's what seems to be happening.
and is me.
It's me, it's the me state, sure. Experiencing the world as sitting on a seat being bored. That's what seems to
And
be happening.
it's also me.
Well, it is there is that's what we're describing. It's the me state. Yeah, it's contraction.
No, I mean it's also me, as in a sense of there's no another me.
I mean, there isn't there. All there is what seems to be happening. That's it. It's just that. There is no me. There is no such thing as a real me. There is just what seems to be happening. There is a sense of contraction. That's it. For no one. Thank you. I'm going to just reply to Warren's message, and then we're going to finish. So, hi, David. Do you ever move back into seeking, or does your sense of self ever arise anymore? Well, since there's nothing that when that illusion falls away of there being a real past and a real future, of there being someone that is in a story, when that falls away, it is kind of, it's just an impossibility of how that can reform into something that is meing again, because it's the illusion has been broken. That sort of whole formation of there being a story in time has fallen away. So no, that doesn't arise anymore. There's no story here of there being a person called David that went through, that had a life. All of that is sort of just, it sort of dissolves in in immediacy. If we're, this is all there is. This is that there's just what is. Yeah, so there's nothing to know here. There's nothing to seek for, to understand, to grasp onto there, because there it you know it there it nothing matters. None of what we've described and what we've talked about matters. Nothing is important and needs to be understood. Nothing needs to be found, because it's already what is. Everything that is longed for, what is longed for, is already this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
See you next
Thank
time.
Thanks,
you,
David.
David.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, David.
Yeah, pleasure. Take care, guys. Bye for now.